I don't know about you, but I'm going to go ahead and move on to Romanticism here. But whenever I think of Romanticism or something being romantic, I'm thinking of flowers and chocolates, you know, lovey-dovey being romantic. Don't let the word fool you. The Romantic period actually occurred at the same time as Neoclassicism, and it may have continued a little bit longer. Some artists rebelled against the rational and orderly qualities of the neoclassical era. They depicted emotional scenes infused with danger, anger, political turmoil. A lot of times it was a direct knock to something happening in the political arena. Their artwork represented the disillusionment with reason, that reason does not always lead to the truth. And they had their values were always permeating in post-revolution France and Spain. So Romantic period actually came after the uprisings in both France and Spain during this time period. Noteworthy artists that they are going to cover is Francisco Goya and Eugene Delacroix. And Goya's career starts out relatively tame. He was like Velázquez. He was a court painter. But as his career progresses, you will notice that his images and his imagery gets darker and darker and more violent. Delacroix was a great colorist who depicted very emotional scenes of human conflict, usually stories that stemmed from the revolution in France. Vive la Revolution, right? So some things we're going to see in these artworks that are carrying over from other time periods is atmospheric perspective and our favorite pyramid configuration. This is actually a sketch that I did back in college, so I wanted to share that. This is of Delacroix's Liberty meeting, leading the people, and this is the main artwork that you will see for the Romantic period in the course content. So without further ado, I'm actually going to start with the Romantic period, since I'm going to try to get back into K-12 here in a second and go backwards to Neoclassicism. If you go online and take a look at the examples that they give you for Delacroix and de Goya, viewer discretion advised towards the end of de Goya's career, because he really does get very graphic in some cases. But again, it's a picture, it's art, and it's a direct relation to what was happening during that time period. So you will see with Delacroix, not only did he do Liberty leading the people, and he was a great colorist, which means he knew how to guide your eye around an artwork using pops of color and repetition of the same color. He also did a lot of religious things. Okay, this is the Sea of Galilee, the story of Jesus calming the seas, and you can see the emotion behind his artworks. Take a look at that impasto painting technique. You can see the brushstrokes. If you were in front of this painting, you could literally see where Delacroix's hand moved on the canvas. He was a fast worker. Okay, he usually started with little sketches, which are very abstract. Here's a great example. I love this. It's funny how little sketches such as this, they did sketches actually in paint. So it's not a finished artwork. You can see where he just kind of stopped his sketch here at the top. But it's funny how as we move throughout time, you'll see something like this from, let's say, a Franz Marc or someone else, and that would be their finished artwork. So I saw that and I was like, whoa, but no, that's not right. So that was sketch for this artwork right here, which is a lion hunt. So far cry from our Mesopotamia ancient artist doing the lion hunt. With their leader going through and being a master of nature. Okay, you have a lion right here just about ready to gobble up this guy if this guy didn't come around and come pick him off, right? But you can see the colors, how he uses certain colors like reds and blues to keep your eye moving throughout the page. And it's very emotional. And then De Goya, one of my favorite all-time pieces, like ever, is this one right here, The Fire by De Goya. And he also used color in a certain way to keep your eye moving and to place an area of emphasis. But his artworks are just completely covered in all kinds of political beliefs, and I mean, Saturn devouring his sons, that's a Greek mythology story, but he directly related it to what was going on in politics and in the war at the time. So you may have seen this one before. I believe it was detailed like in the movie Seven. There's a couple of other places that I think we've seen this. I actually think that that artwork itself is shown in Breaking Dawn, of all places, right? But you'll notice that he starts off with these nice pictures of ladies and the aristocracy. He was a royal court painter. But as he got to know the truth behind what was going on in these families and the things happening around him, he ended up being a revolutionary, and he actually had to live out his life in exile, in political exile. So he has a very interesting life story as well. And this is the artwork that we see in the K-12 content. And there's that area of emphasis again, where your eye goes straight to this guy right here in the middle, and a direct relation between his stance here and also the stance of Christ being crucified. And it all had meaning. And he did a lot of political cartoons as well. So you'll see etchings that we saw in late Baroque period, not Baroque, I'm sorry, late Renaissance. So he used etchings as well to put across his political views, and was sometimes very ostracized about it. So I'm gonna get, here we go. So yeah, that's obviously a political commentary, and he used the engraving process. You can actually see exactly where the engraving metal plate was. And remember that the engraving process is where they would scratch into metal, and by his time period they used acid, and you actually would paint this protective coat over areas that you would want to keep white, and then you would paint over certain areas with this covering, and then dip it straight into these acids to eat away at the metal. And of course, the more you eat away, the deeper your engraving is, and that's where you have the darker darks. So just some interesting information.
Alright, so what do you need to do next? Go back to the lessons that we've covered so far, 1.10, 1.11, and 1.12. And look through those lines in there. Focus mainly on those lines that talk about the conventions of the style that the artist is working in. That's where most of your quiz questions are going to come from. And on Thursday, we're going to be swinging the pendulum between reason and logic, or instilling some type of emotion or having some type of emotional response in the artwork. So you might want to go back and take a look at the artists that we've seen so far and see if they were more of a logical person. Did the artwork need to have a specific reason, logic behind it? Did it need to have a certain composition? Did things need to be idealized? Or was it more on the emotional side where the artist was trying to get you to feel something? So review that, and I will see you guys tomorrow, and we'll do some pendulum swinging. Swing the pendulum. All right.